Hello guys, how you doing this week? You good? Anything good happened? Mention in the comments. Let me know if something good happened for you this week. um, this week was a very busy week, so taking a little break from designing headwear this week, but I will pick that up next week. But I wanted to come on and really share um, a hat designer that I looked up, researched, and ended up buying her book. And I did it because, I'm a student, as you guys know, I'm a student of hat designing at FIT in the city. And on top of, being a full-time hair stylist as well. So um, I have been, while I'm going to school, I've also been building up all of my inventory of materials, supplies, tools, um, head blocks, hat blocks, all of that, right? So I've also designed my logo. My dog is looking for my attention. You want to come up here? Come on. He's here. Look. He's here. Can you see him at the bottom of the screen? Come closer. He really, listen, he's really not up here just because he wants to, listen to my story. He's up here because his treats are up here. He's not fooling anybody. You see his nose? Okay, so we'll multitask. We'll give him some treats while we talk. Okay. Don't take over the whole video, okay? All right. So I have slowly been building up what I need to so that, I can start getting into hats and putting in everything that I've learned into my hats. So I've designed my logo and I was looking for someone to do labels for me with my logo and my company name for the hats, which is Tossed Hat, to so that when I sew the inside headband or like sweatband to the hat, I'll be able to sew in my label as well. Okay, so kind of like the label you wear that's on the back of your shirt that tells you the company and size and so forth of your garment. So when I called around this one particular gentleman, okay, that's it. I'm out of treats. I'm out of treats now that my fingers are all wet. I'm out of treats. That's it, baby. He'll jump down any minute now once he knows I'm really have no more treats for him tonight. Okay, so you're just gonna have to listen to the story until you're bored of it, okay? So he says, yes, we've made labels for, hat designers. We used to be the label makers for Patricia Underwood. So I said, okay, great. I really, in my mind, I think I was thinking of who's the Carrie Underwood. So yeah, I just didn't think anything about it, but I was like, okay, great. I didn't know who she was. So, I signed up with him to do my labels. Great. Within the same week, I was shopping for a hat sewing machine that was made in like originally the 20s, because they really stopped making these machines specifically for hats because the companies, factories picked them up and they were mass produced predominantly. But you have a few people like myself who do their own hat making, and it makes our life easier and it helps with production. You can produce more hats if you don't have, if you instead of hand stitching, you sew, use a sewing machine. Okay. So I speak to that gentleman and he says, oh yeah, I used to work with Patricia Underwood. And I was like, What? He's like, she's the sweetest woman you'll ever meet. I said, this is the second time I've heard this hat designer's name. I said, okay, now I have to look her up because I didn't know who she was. And one thing about being in any industry, the more you learn, the more you know, the more people you meet, the more people you talk to in that industry, you realize it becomes a smaller and smaller world. Everybody begins to know who all the players are. So I looked her up, and turns out she has a book, Patricia Underwood, The Way You Wear Your Hat. Okay, you can get it on Amazon. It's a hardcover. And I was like, I must know everything about this woman that a lot of the people that I am utilizing to help me with my business, they've helped Miss Patricia Underwood. So looking her up, she is still around today doing commissions, hat commissions. That's usually when somebody calls you and say, hey, I need a hat, and I need it to look and be designed like this and so forth. So she's still taking on that work, but she no longer has her big business. She ran a hat, I hope I'm saying this correctly, she did run a hat designing shop in New York on a larger scale, and she designed, manufactured, and marketed her hats in New York City. But she's originally from the UK, and she had her hat designing business here in New York from the 70s all the way up until 2019 before, she took it down, way down. So I guess she's retired, but still doing hat commissions. So I'm like, okay, this is great. Now let's read about Patricia Underwood, the woman. And, she was in New York struggling to raise her daughter, and she took one hat designing class and said, you know what? This is going to be it. This is what I'm going to do to support me and my daughter. And she did it. And, she started designing hats without really having the knowledge about the hats. She just threw herself into it. And because of that, she was seen as an artist, and her work has been described as hats with a soul. And I like that because I feel like, to me, the trendsetters don't ask permission. They break the rules. They just go for it. And she was a trendsetter of her time. She was a aspiring artist, and it was just great. So I'm just going to show you a couple of my favorite designs that she did that I thought were pretty great. This one I thought was pretty smart. It's like the Uncle Sam top hat, right? I want you. And I love it on this model. So I love her remake and rendition of that. It's pretty awesome. And she has designed hats for a lot of celebrities. I thought this hat was just smart, It's a fedora hat, but I just love how it's being worn, with confidence. It's wonderful. And I know they talk about in this book how the hats bring attention to the eyes, to the gaze, excuse me, to the gaze of your eyes. Look at this one. It almost looks a little textured with, yeah, it's pretty cool. This is awesome. These are women who look cosmopolitan and kind of Western at the same time. Like old school Western. Yeah, and you see a few, I guess, photo book cameos. That's Annette Bening wearing one of her hats. Katy Perry was in here. Shari Belafonte I saw in here wearing her hats. It's pretty cool. The celebrities that have worn her hats. This one, oh, I liked this one. I don't know if you can see it here, but she has some sheer material on top of the fedora, almost like a sunroof for your hat, the top of your hat. Oh, oh my goodness, and it looks like a straw hat. That is just wonderful. You know what I'm excited to learn? I'm excited to learn all the different materials that I can use to make a hat. You know, I'm looking forward to exploring that. This one, I liked the colors. You know, she's wearing nude colors, nude and earth tone colors to her her wardrobe and her gloves and pocketbook, but her hat is just gives you that pop of interest in the color of her hat. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And there was one that inspired me in terms of material. Oh, this was, I guess, kind of avant-garde. Very fun. You know, there's some hats too that you feel like are only for editorial. You're like, who's gonna, unless you're in the UK, right? I feel like in the UK they are daring. They dare to go there, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. This inspired me. Two hats inspired me. The one that I showed you about the sunroof up top, and this one. It almost, the material, it almost looks like a scarf. You see how delicately it almost ruffles around the edges. It's not a hard brim at all, but you know it probably has some stiffness to it. But look how that material, you can see through it. So my goal is to find some material like that that I can form into a hat. Like this fits her like a glove. It was like this was made for her. But when I first saw it, I said, oh, is this a scarf? But no. I mean, it looks delicate enough to be a scarf, but it's actually a hat. And I'm like, I would love to find that material. The hunt is on. So you know what I'm on a quest. I want to go into the city and go to the material stores, the hat material stores, and really, well, they don't do that. Yeah, they do have. They have Manhattan Co. They have a couple of ones that will sell the hat bodies, but I'm interested to really explore all the materials that I can use, and I'm gonna read more about this. Maybe they'll say in the side point there. But I was so excited when going through this book. I said I have to share it, but it's one of those books that each time you get into it, you'll see something new. You'll see a new detail where you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So, I'm going to have fun going through and reading over it again and reading the captions and trying to figure out how she did it. And that's part of the adventure, and that's part of the fun, is figuring out how people have done it and you doing it as well. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Well, thank you, Miss Patricia Underwood, for being the new inspiration on my radar as I go through my own hat adventures, and I am just looking forward to you know, being at the same table with these greats, because I know my hats are going to be up there just as well. I will can't wait to get my perspective out there, my perspective on hats, and yeah, I'm looking forward to giving my hats a soul as well. All right, guys, until next week, just a preview of next week. What I am going to be designing is I do have these feathers and I have some netting. And I'm going to put them together. I'm going to kind of have the feather at the top, you know, kind of, and then put my lace around. So we'll figure that out somehow. So yeah, I'm looking forward to creating some new veils with feathers next week. So come along. All right. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Until next week.